Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Jesse Jackson III, best-selling author and facilitator of the Don't Kick 'Em Out book and training series, and the lead advisor and consultant and founder of our Louisiana School of Success Institute, which is totally focused on helping Louisiana schools to deal with some of its foundational core issues, whether it be trauma, whether it be dealing with the issue of race and diversity, or dealing with the issue of student behavior. Uh, we have, over the course of my career, I started in Louisiana in 2015, and I have had the wonderful opportunity to go to some of the largest parishes in Louisiana, some of the smallest, some that are located in rural areas, some that actually mix inner city with rural. I have seen the entire scope from all ends to the New Orleans side, down to the Baton Rouge side, to the Lafayette side, to the Monroe side. And I have got, I mean, smaller, larger, I've got an opportunity to see some very unique things. Went to unique places like Union Parish, which I love, by the way. Great time there. So I have had the opportunity over this time to build some phenomenal relationships, to learn a lot. That's the key thing for me. I took it as an education. And one of the things that I consistently found was there are, when I say cultural differences, this is kind of where this really, when I wrote the book Closing the Poverty Gap, I really had Louisiana in mind because the thing that I saw was a lot of times when I get called, I'm going to get called on a race related issue. But what I have been very exceptional at doing is peeling it back. And whenever, now race is a factor, hear me clearly, okay, is a factor, but it is not the foundational issue. When you peel that stuff back, you're going to see that foundation, that baseline is poverty. Now, why is that? It's something so important for us to understand. We have been illogically trained to believe that poverty is money. If poverty was money, that means the ESSER money, the stimulus package would eradicate it. That means you could cash poverty and flush it out. Folks, that has never been true. That is irrational. It is wrong. Poverty is not money by itself. Poverty is mental. So what we're seeing is in our schools, this is why Louisiana really has always had that place in my heart. And I actually, this is the first place I began to see it. We have 95% working middle class teacher with middle class mentality, middle class values. That's how they see the world, straight up. Do you yes sir, no ma'am. The teacher's always right. We don't question authority. Check. Here's the deal though. We are seeing other cultures, not black and white, social class ideology. Working middle class, one mentality. Poor, low income mentality, another mentality. We're seeing the indigent population, the high support and dependence on public service. This is whether black, white, or brown. Folks, and this is what I'm saying. I've been to parishes predominantly white, probably all white. The factors are the identical same. This is what I'm trying to tell you. And until you actually teach and hit what your roots are, we will keep spinning our wheels and keep getting no production. That's why it just keeps coming up, it keeps happening, and we don't get resolution. So when we started the School of Success Institute, what our aim was to work with parishes that are totally committed to addressing issues of behavior, addressing issues of the trauma. Now notice, since when I started this, the trauma has escalated, right? We were already in a high trauma state in 2018, 2019, and then 2020 hits, and then it just doubled down. As a thing that we know in the great state of Louisiana, every year seems like we're hit with a natural disaster of a hurricane. I have personally have had friends lose everything to hurricanes. I mean, every year. And the thing is that when you are working with those parishes and working with those faculties, there are some very intense details that when you help a Louisiana school that you need to know before you come in there. It's some things about the parish, about the culture, about the communities that you have to know before you go in there. So when we finally became a state approved vendor, and this is after some years, because they're like, well, who is this guy? Why are the people requesting him? And they're like, well, he speaks our language. He's one of us. Like he's one of us. He understands what we're going through. How do I know? I spend so much time down there. Like I spend time down there in Louisiana at least once every week, all throughout the state. I have partners all over the state, superintendents all over the state, principals all over the state, and teacher friends all over the state. So the thing is, if you are one of those Louisiana schools and we are going into a new school year, one of the things that I really want to help us with, and I want to help you with, is if you know you need to get a real hold on behavior, if you know that the trauma in your community continues to escalate. Like one of my communities that I work with this year, I got like 3 that had over 10 shootings. 3 that had over 10 shootings of its students. 10 shootings. Okay, well, I'm from Detroit, right? I'm from an inner city. I'm from a violent place where, like, okay, that's inner city life. Well, guys, we're in Louisiana, all right? And simply when I started, I foreseen these days coming. So that means our staff has to be retrained. There is a reality, brutal reality of trauma zone schools. If you're one of those communities where that trauma is heavy latent in that community, where there's high levels of poverty, that means mental ideas about education that are very conflictual, where you have, it's very unique. And rural education is one of the most understudied or taught systems. See, like we understand the inner city because they do a lot of research on it. We have done very little of our real-time work on what rural poverty really means and how it looks. Because I can tell you as a guy who specialized in 1, suburban schools, privileged schools, 2, inner city impoverished schools. I get that. I'm from that, right? But then rural poverty is another dog. That's another dog. And I can almost tell you, once you get into that rural poverty cycle, you can throw that color out the door. Now, I only know that because I've seen it with my own eyes. No one told me this. No one told me. I experienced it personally, the things I've personally seen during my time in Louisiana. So our entire focus has been working with the parishes, working with the superintendents, working with our school boards. They need support. And it doesn't matter if it's an affluent parish that has had great success, has had marginal success, that has consistency of being pretty good because of its reputation, or it's a struggling parish, a parish that has had consistent DNF test outcomes, high levels of behavior, high suspension rate, high referral rates. This is what we made the thing for, was to cause, to help and to give guidance. And the only way that you get this stuff out and get this stuff dealt with, folks, is you've got to be able to train your personnel in exactly what they're dealing with in a trauma zone. Exactly. You have to build up the skills that staff need because they're out of the baseline of their basic teaching and learning skills, which is, teaching, planning, and in delivering a lesson. That's one part of it. But if those other deficits, you're talking about the inability to confront, not organized, poor communication skills, no courage, no confidence, and you go to a trauma zone as a teacher, you're going to get ate up. They're going to flush you out of there. And that's what we see. This is why a lot of parishes, just like all around the country, but I'm talking to Louisiana schools. This is for Louisiana. This is me putting on for Louisiana, being one of, like I said, I felt like I needed to do this because I seen consistent patterns as I moved through the state. And I believe in Louisiana, I find it to be one of my easier states to train, because if you know what you're talking about, and those teachers will listen to you. Like if they know you know what you're talking about, I've had great results there because people respect their expertise. So listen, if you are one of those schools that we know behavior is going to be a big issue in our parish this year. It always has been. Our numbers are not where we need them to be. And you are willing to confront the issue, because you're not going to correct something you're unwilling to confront. You keep justifying yourself. It's not that bad. It's okay. Truth is temporarily painful, but it is something that is permanently liberating. If you're a new superintendent and you are taking your first superintendent job, I can tell you right now, after COVID-19, you're going to have your hands full, and the number one thing you're going to need to keep together is culture. Culture is what we believe, how we behave. It's getting people to stay on the same page, work together as a team, believe in your vision, not buy in, believe in it because you've taken them somewhere. Leadership is going to be paramount to these next 10 years in Louisiana education, as it is everywhere. By starting this institute, this is where we separate a chunk of our time every month for Louisiana schools. Now, once again, we're over at probably about 22 districts that I got to get in over the course of the year. But I'm talking to all schools. If you are one of those schools and you know you need help in these critical areas, race, trauma, behavior, leadership development, please reach out to us today. Email us, give us a call today, because this is the time to make these changes. If you are a person that is willing to do the work and you know you're ready, then give us a call today. Our program is just about results. It's about development. It's about personal growth and development in key and critical areas that help you to remove many of the barriers to student success. And one of those barriers is definitely their trauma, understanding how to manage their emotions and feelings, a recommitment to education. And these are things that we have to put energy into teaching and reinvesting, particularly after such a tumultuous time in world history, which was brought to us by COVID-19, which we are still dealing with the residuals of overcoming. And that means we have to protect our staff, morale, redevelop trust within the company and departments. And that's where we're at right now. If you're one of those superintendents, one of those school boards, one of those principals that know you need help, call us, reach out today. We're looking forward to working with you soon. Be well. I'll see you in class.